In the last section, we saw how to use our component as a directive in the index.html file by bootstrapping our root component. But that approach is only appropriate for the root component. For all other components, there are 3 steps we need to follow. Here is our newly created event list component. Since we defined a selector for this component, we can use it in our HTML as a directive. Let's use this event list component in our app component. To prevent confusion, we will refer to the event list as the directive component and the app as the container component, because the app will contain the directive. In the app component, we want to display the directive component's template instead of hard-coded text. So we add the directive reference. This is the first step in using the component. Add the directive where we want to display the directive component's template. But the browser doesn't understand this element tag, so we have to specify that it is in a directive and in which component that directive is defined. We do that by adding the directive's property to the container component's metadata. We use an array as the value of this property. And for each directive used in the template, we pass in the directives component. In this case, we are using the EL events directive. EL events is defined as the selector associated with the event list component. So we define the event list component in the directives array. This is the second step in using the component. To identify the component for each directive that is used in the template and add that component to the container's directive array. Now we must add an import statement so the module loader can find the event list component. This is the third and final step in using the component, adding the import for the event list component. To summarize, these are the 3 steps required to use a component as a directive in any other component. Let's go through these 3 steps with the newest component in our course project. Back in our course project app, we define a selector for the event list component so it can be used as a directive in any other component. We'll use it in the app component. For step 1, let's edit the app component file where it displays super simple component. Instead of displaying super simple component, we can display our new event list template. Replace the div tags with the EL events tag. Now for step 2, we add the directives array. In the directives array, we can specify that Angular 2 should look in the event list component for this directive. And for step 3, we simply need to add an import statement for the event list component. At this point, we can test the app component with the event list component added to it. Let's pull this up in the browser. Initially, we can see the app loading message. It may load so fast that you don't even actually see the message, but then our app is displayed in the page. It's far from complete. It's not even interactive yet, but we have the basic structure all set up. We successfully used our event list component as a directive. We added the selector as the directive and the containing components template. We defined the directives array in the containing components metadata, and we added the appropriate import statement. Now we are ready to add some Angular 2 magic to our user interface with data binding and some built-in Angular 2 directives.